way you are, and then I couldn't make the leader, and then I can't make next week's leader.
Okay, let's go ahead and start today's meeting. Thank you for being here. Today is the 10th of October. It's 6:10, and we're going to go ahead and start our meeting. Since Mr. Goldfarb last month was very good about reminding us about the flag salute, Mr. Goldfarb, would you like to lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all. Okay.
We forgot it for a minute, and I say it every day.
So let's go ahead and do we have any students here today? I see a few hands. Great. If you could let Lori,
Me.
you.
But now,
If we can let Melanie know that you're here so that we could make sure that you get credit for today's meeting, that'd be great. And welcome to Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council. Okay, so let's go ahead and take roll.
Okay, Leila Aguilar is excused. Paul Ariola Carr. He is.
Is Cole excused? He talked to you?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. John Barbera is excused. Vic Christensen here. John Dominglio is excused. Craig Goldfarb.
Here.
Cynthia Gagne and Gwen Henry are excused. Melanie Lebrecht. Here. Kelly Miller.
Here.
Ben Norman. Thomas Norman.
Here.
Ray Regalado.
Here.
Michael Signorelli.
Here.
Adam Stevenson.
Here.
Angela Sumner is excused. And Chris Valle.
Here.
Okay, we have 10, so we do have quorum.
Okay, great. All right, let's go ahead and move to agenda item number 2. And we're going to have general public comment. And I have a few here that are stacked. So we're going to go ahead and give 2 minutes for each speaker. The first one will be Lamar Lyons.
Mr. President and members of the Neighborhood Council, my name is Lamar Lyons. I'm here to do a public announcement. I'm running for the 35th State Senate seat. I've left a summary of my on the rear table. I've also left cards so you can go to my website. I have a background in activism, public service, and finance, having worked for a U.S. Senator, a state legislator, city councilman, as well as a chief legislative analyst office for the city of L.A. He's given me a framework for developing and promoting public policy. I've experience in the public sector, a foundation of public service, and a background in labor. I've worked for Douglas Aircraft in the assembly. I've also worked as a warehouse worker for GI Trucking. These experiences were the foundation for me working at 2 Wall Street firms as a municipal finance banker and owning a boutique investment banking firm. I'm Vice President of the San Pedro Central Neighborhood Council, which provides me with knowledge of community issues and stakeholder concerns.
After the meeting.
There are 5 issues I think are very important to the community: housing and homelessness. I believe in a private-public partnership thinking that is needed to address affordable housing and homeless crises. These are high aspirations due to the state increasing expectations of local governments to plan and follow through on building more housing, a process known as RHNA, or the Regional Housing Needs Allocation. There has to be sensitivity to present legal restraints. Public safety. We cannot prosecute ourselves out of crime. It is not the police who create the conditions that led to crime and homelessness. police do not defund mental health services. Police are not behind the housing, health, and educational crises, and investment policies that serve underserved communities. The state must develop programs that supplement law enforcement environment. There are two major issues I believe that affect this district: air and water. The state has not been aggressive in pressing for emission controls and water cleanup. The source of pollution being trucks, trains, and warehouses. The state must do more for oversight of this source of air and water pollution. Economic enrichment. There's a matrix, I believe, for jobs. It should be based upon a STEM type of format: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's a broad term used to group together these for academic discipline and implementation for workforce development. Transportation. LA was the last major city in the United States to get a permanent rail system installed. However, the district has not gotten the full benefit of a permanent system. There must be a rail system that will promote an infrastructure that connects buses and rail systems that support personal needs and commerce. I hope you take a look at my summary in the back, and I look forward to basically serving you as a state senator. Thank you.
Thank you. Second one for public comment is from Adam Stevenson.
Is it okay if I move this podium over so we're not directly?
Thank you. Yes.
All right. I don't want to break it because I can't afford to pay for it. All right. Good evening. I really came to share about an event that my church will be hosting. We have our sponsors are Supervisor Janice Hahn, Council District 15, the 1-5, with Councilmember Tim McCosker, as well as the Rancho Palos Verdes Rotary Club. And what we will be doing is having on October 22nd from 1 to 3 p.m., we'll have a community diaper distribution. Just trying to be a blessing and support those in the community who are in need. And so if any of you know of families who are in need of diapers, we will be giving away boxes of diapers. The goal is that we give at least 150 boxes of diapers away that day. So again, if you know of anyone, please send them our way. We will do first come, first served. But again, October 22nd from 1 to 3 at our church, Warren Chapel. CME Church sits right next to Raina Park. But the address 1039 West Elberon. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last general public comment card I have is from Vic Christensen.
Just another quick update on some of the Senate bills, SB, and I think Octaviano may talk about it some too. SB 411, which allows neighborhood councils to go virtual 100%, was signed by the governor. It now goes to the LA City Council for them to authorize the neighborhood councils to abide by that. SB 537, which was for other bodies, was put inactive, so it is going nowhere at this point. I believe it was replaced by AB 557, which is very similar, and also, I haven't put them side by side, but they appear to be very similar. And AB 557 is more like AB 2449. That one also got signed, or went to the governor. I don't know if it's actually been signed yet, but it did go to the governor. So the operative one is the first one, SB 411. The LA City Council has the next step to authorize the neighborhood councils to vote on whether each can vote on whether they want to go virtual. And that's it.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes agenda item number 2. We're going to move on to agenda item number 3, which is our homelessness liaison report. Ms. Jacobs.
Hi, good evening, board, stakeholders. Where to start? Okay, I'm a little behind. I've had some personal issues in the last month, so forgive me. I missed the CD15 working group on homelessness. If there's anything to add to it, I believe Craig went there. On the homeless count, I mentioned that I'm the site coordinator this year. Right now, we're working on getting a signed site. We're working on most likely having Peck Park be the location. If you want to mark the date, it is Wednesday, January 24th from 8 to about 11 p.m. Once I have all the information, I'll let you know where you can sign up to volunteer for the count. We'll need people doing the counts and also some people doing some administrative work. You don't have to have any experience. In my report, I included some information about how the count works and a little bit about the history, so you can read through that at your leisure. I also still have the link to the 2023 homeless count, and if you go to that site, you could see previous count numbers too. The Pathway Home, the LA County program was fairly successful, their first event, so they're having another one. This is for the RV encampments, the county working in multi-pronged response to the homeless crisis under this, trying to get the dilapidated RVs removed, get the people in some type of housing, at least shelter, and then on a path to housing, and along with possibly medical assistance if they need it, job training, etc., whatever they need to get back on the path. And the next one is going to be at the end of October for the Broadway Corridor, which is an unincorporated area of Gardena, which is just kind of on the border of CD15. So I wanted to mention that. I don't know of anyone scheduled yet for the RV encampment in San Pedro up at the top of Westmont just yet. That's a much smaller one, and I think they're going after the larger ones. In this report, I included a couple of pages of good resources. So if you know of anybody who's having an issue with eviction, renters protection, I have all the links there for if they non-payment of rent, at-fault evictions, no-fault evictions, relocation assistance. So that's a good resource. And then these are all from the LA Housing Department. Information on state laws, everything that could help them with that. And then the last page is legal assistance regarding housing matters. And both these are all free legal assistance for low-income people, seniors, people with disabilities, counseling information, all relating to housing. The reason I included this is with the eviction moratorium ending and other programs ending, we're still pedaling backwards, especially with families losing their housing. And I just want to say, with what's been going on in the news lately, we have to really focus on humanitarian and issues and helping these people who can't help themselves, people in need. And that's really about all I have today, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Any questions around the table? I see no hands up. Any questions from the audience? Comments? I see no hands up. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you for letting me be of service.
So let's go ahead and move on to agenda item number 4. This is for our elected governmental and public safety representatives. Let's go ahead and start with perhaps the mayor's office. Jocelyn?
Hello, everyone. For those of you that forgot who I am, because I know it's been some time, my name is Jocelyn Dominguez. I serve as the Harbor representative for the Office of Mayor Karen Bass. So I do have a few updates for you all. Firstly, I do want to start by sharing that we now have an app that you can download to your phone, and we can send you direct updates directly in real time. So, for example, if we have an inside safe operation, you would get that alert, and you would know exactly how many individuals were moved inside and received services. Also, the resource that Lori mentioned with ULA, the Rental Assistance Program application, that was also sent out through that app. So we do have a general link that people can use to download that app, and I did leave the flyer up at the table. But we also have one specific to neighborhood councils because we do want to stay connected with you and make sure that we're staying connected with our neighborhood councils. So I'll pass that over once I'm done. Also, about 2 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago, we had our first telephone town hall. So the mayor used to do these regularly when she was in Congress. So she is looking forward to doing these more regularly now that she is mayor. So our first one had about 2,000 Angelinos call in, and they were able to ask questions directly to the mayor, as well as our deputy mayors who provided updates on the administration's priorities. Also, an update on Executive Directive 1, and that executive directive is aimed towards accelerating the process and the cost of building affordable housing units. So more than 7,000 units of affordable housing have been accelerated. And I mean, this is a process that used to take on average 6 months. It's now taking on average about 40 days. So we're seeing a lot of great results there. Another update with Executive Directive 4, and this is specific to small businesses. This requested a report to outline the barriers that small business owners face in just creating a business or, maintaining their business. And it also required the formation of a steering committee who would produce this report. So that report did come back, and some of the solutions that the mayor has identified and to be implemented before the end of the year do include enacting departmental action plans to address process delays, providing virtual and in-person counter services for businesses looking to open or expand, adopt strategies to immediately help expedite contract payments, and establishing a small business cabinet and an Executive Directive for Community Business Task Force to ensure small businesses can inform the steering committee and provide solutions. Also, another update which relates to permanent housing, because right now one of the barriers that we do place when we place people into interim housing is that getting them on a path to permanent housing can be challenging because there's so many requirements standing in their way. So the mayor was able to come to an agreement with the Federal Housing Department to cut through that red tape and bring more Angelinos inside and faster. So that does eliminate the self-certification of income, self-certification of social security number, self-certification of date of birth, and and disability. And that's all for me, unless there's any questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments from around the table? I see no hands. Any questions or comments from the audience? Lori? Can you? Thank you.
Jocelyn, there was something in the LA Times about some of the motions for the permitting to fast track, that some are grandfathered in and some aren't, so some were put on hold. Do you know anything about that? These were in the Valley, but I don't know.
Sure, that pertain to
Affordable housing, new developments, new development, permanent supportive housing. Yeah, that some permits were put on hold and some were granted. Do you know anything about that?
I don't.
I'll find the article and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, I can look into that. I haven't heard of that yet.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Jocelyn, thank you so much for being here. And I do believe I see the great representative from the 1-5, Amanda.
Without the principal.
Hello, everybody. I missed you all. I wasn't at the last neighborhood council meeting, so it's good to see all of your lovely faces. I'm going to keep it hopefully short and sweet today. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. A few things. I did leave some flyers over in the front. On Wednesday the 18th, we are having our State of the District. I also sent an email to you, Ray, inviting you and all the board to join us. It'll be in Watts, which will be the first one. The councilman is going to do one in each part of the district. The first one will be in Watts, since we kind of already had one here in San Pedro that the chamber put on, but he would like to do his own state of the districts as well. So like I said, the first one is going to be in Watts. It's going to be at WLCAC. It is on Central, and it'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. on the 18th. The other thing that we have that's coming up is our third job fair. This one will be in Wilmington. Again, the council member wants to have one in each part of the 1-5. So we already did Watts. Actually, Watts had 2, and then Wilmington, and hopefully we'll be next or, somewhere down the line. But it will be on October 26th. It's from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's at Holy Family Grammar School. These are also in the front, so you can share. I'll also send you the actual PDF file so that you can put it out as well. Got those 2 things. Okay, so today there was a massive tree that fell down on Patton between 8th and 9th. It damaged 4 cars.
Oh, wow.
And potentially the front of an apartment unit. So they cleared the street today, and they'll be back tomorrow in order to chop the rest of the tree down and then clear all of the brush. It might take them a couple of days because for the bigger pieces of tree, they can't deliver it here on Gaffey. They have to take it all the way to the valley. So then they only have 2 trucks for the whole city of Los Angeles. So it'll be a couple of days running. The council member also wants to get a couple of other trees trimmed on Patton that are just as big. And since we're already taking care of one, we might as well take care of the other 2. Next issue, Target. So we actually have a follow-up meeting. So we have been having meetings with a lot of different city departments and Target to try to figure out what the problem is. We've gotten to the point where we understand that it's groundwater, and it's been there for centuries, apparently. And since we decided to build on top of it, now we're kind of dealing with the issues. Target did find a little bit of a leak, which they fixed. On Thursday of last week, I had the street sweeper go down again and kind of take care of the water that's coming out. But it's an ongoing issue. I can tell you that the council member joined one of our meetings with the city departments and Target. So he's very involved in it, and we're trying to figure it out. So hopefully by the next meeting, I'll have more information so we can see what's going to be done and where we stand at that point. Westmont. We are in the process of working with the CAO's office, with NISA, and also LAPD to arrange I don't know what we want to call it, but it's like not an inside safe, but it's going to be a coordinated effort to kind of deal with the RVs that are up on Westmont. There was an ask from the business owners in that area to have a meeting on October 13th. I followed up with one of the property managers to let them know that we feel that the most efficient meeting would probably be later on in October. We do have a new unhoused coordinator coming on since George is no longer on our team. And he's going to be starting in the end of October. So for the most efficient use of our time, we feel as though that rescheduling it for the end of October would be best. And in that time, we're having weekly meetings for the RV coordination for the efforts for that area. I do want to thank LAPD and Officer Valoni. They went out and took some photos for us, identified all of the RVs that are there at the moment, also some unhoused individuals that are using a Caltrans tunnel to now make camps on the other side of the freeway. So it is a coordinated effort. It will take a lot of, coordination, but also it'll take time, right? We have to make sure that we have everything in place to make sure that these individuals not only get the opportunity to get services, but understand that, there is a need for them to relocate. Next thing is the overgrowth on Capitol. I know that we've received a few messages about that. I believe it's Capitol. And so our Clean 15 crew will be out there sometime in the next couple of weeks in order to take, like, either this week or next week to kind of take care of some of that overgrowth. There was a cleanup under the freeway on Channel Street over the weekend. They did clean underneath the freeway on either side or the other side of the fence. They are not, Caltrans is not allowed to clean up the actual railway, so we will have either LACC or our Clean 15 crew go in there and finish the job. I did also send Ray a request to hopefully get on the agenda for council file. We would like community impact statements. It's for a motion for fire standards, standards, sworn resources deployment, citywide fire suspension, emergency medical needs, underserved communities, fire station. So Ray can probably send out that, just for the record, it's council file 23-0332, if you'd like to read more. And yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it on? Yeah. Okay, a couple of things. The Target thing. Is there anything they can do about the water that's like, I know they cleaned it up. It looks great when they came out and cleaned it, but the water keeps going and spewing, and so then the algae starts growing again. Is this just going to be a thing?
Well, again, it's groundwater, so it's literally coming out of the ground.
Oh, it's bad.
So it's going to take a coordinated effort to figure out how we stop the groundwater.
Okay.
Like I said, the groundwater's been here. It was here before we were here.
Yeah, because we need to regularly get vector control out there because the mosquitoes are really bad right now out there, real bad. And with West Nile and all of that being approaching, that's really a concern. The other thing is, too, walking down the sidewalk and the driveway. Several neighbors have commented and come knocking on my door saying, is there anything we can do about that? It's really slippery. When you go walk, somebody's going to fall dead on their butt because the driveway is just like, it's like slippery.
I mean, there's nothing that we can do immediately right now. Again, we're working with the different city departments to try to rectify the situation. The water is literally coming out of the ground, so it's not an easy fix to just plug a hole or.
Yeah, it's weird. I went and walked over there. It's like slimy, slippery kind of is what it is. It's just like gross. I wouldn't even walk in it if I had to. But anyway, the other thing was the meeting on October 13th at the request of Doug, the owner of Black Rock. He has requested that we still do a meeting, so we'll do it on a neighborhood council thing, kind of hearing their concerns as stakeholders. And just go, I'm going to go meet with them with SLO Valoni and just go sit and see what their concerns are.
Okay.
You know,
we've already had a meeting
heard.
with the ownership. We understand what the concerns are. And so, again, like I told Mel, if I'm available, I would join the meeting, but I don't know how efficient that is going to be a use of our time.
They still want it, so it's just their stakeholders. So as neighborhood council public safety, I'm just going to go ahead and go sit with them because he feels like Mel, the property manager, has met like his threshold that he's able to do.
Okay.
And so the owner is this Doug, I forgot his last name, Bogie.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Okay.
You didn't mention either about the trucks on Capitol. That's been an ongoing issue, and it's turning really bad since the bridge has been closed. And we see a sample of what's going to happen when the Vincent Thomas Bridge. They broke a curb. They broke the sign of SoCal Gas. They damaged a bunch of property over there on the park side, as well as today they hit a car.
So we're working with DOT to get signs for no trailer parking in the middle of the location, but I'm not really sure. Besides that, what we're empowering LAPD to be able to ticket or to enforce the no trailer parking by putting up the signs.
See, a lot of it's that gas station too.
Yeah,
and they are too big to get in there. And too big to even try and get around, but they try. And they're
Right.
hitting things and breaking things and all of that and stacking up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I believe Officer Valoni, he might bring it up in his report that he spoke with the SoCal Gas there. I'm not sure what we can do. A lot of the drivers are owner-operators, so there's not one entity that we can go to and say, hey, your truck drivers are doing this or doing that. All we can do is put up signage. I did ask DOT about maybe putting some humps or bumps or cones or whatever in the middle, but they said that they wouldn't be able to do that because the individuals leaving from a business on either side of that would not be able to make a left or a right.
A left or a right. Yeah.
So we're kind of beholden to, and we're hoping that once we get the signage, a few people might get cited, and so they might stop doing that. But beyond that, I'm not really sure how much more we can do besides kind of lean maybe on SoCal Gas to, I'm not sure that there's actually an attendant that's there that will be able to say, hey, don't, take your hitch off of your truck. But we are aware of the situation, and we're hoping that the efforts that DOT is going to put through with the signage will help to rectify that.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions from around the table? Okay, I see a couple of hands going up. Can we go ahead? Lori, I saw your hand up first. You want to go ahead and ask the question or make a comment?
Thank you, Amanda. A couple things on Capitol. So I was contacted by your office, because I have a house there and John Barbera does too. Behind our houses, the brush is cleared. There's 3 or 4 houses where it's really bad. Christian in your office made it sound like the homeowners needed to clean that up. So you're now saying that the city, you're going to have this clean crew come in and who's responsible for clearing the brush that's there behind the?
Is it Capitol?
It's Capitol, yeah.
I mean, technically, the homeowner is responsible.
Okay.
It's a part of your property.
Can you go to the mic?
Can you get in the mic?
You want us to talk together? Technically, it is the homeowner who is responsible for doing that. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't get done and it's affecting individuals' ability to go down the sidewalk, then we have to figure it out.
So I understand that. When I talked to Christian, I thought it was an opportunity for your office to knock on their doors, introduce yourselves, and let them know, because it's just going to grow back. The other thing is, just past where my house is, there is an easement that the property's owned by the city, and there's a lot of dry brush there all the time, and I don't know who I can call to get that cleared. Several years back on 4th of July, the apartments up above lit it on fire on 4th of July. It's very dry, so I'd like somebody to look at that. And then the last thing, Melanie, if you're going to go ahead and meet with people to talk about the RV encampment up there, there are regular outreach groups that meet with them. Are you going to have them as part of the meeting? Because I'm a little concerned that you're going to meet.
He's having somebody come.
Okay, because I thought it was Port Police.
Nope. He's having somebody else come.
Okay. So good. And some of the outreach people. Okay. So maybe some of us advocates could also be invited to that meeting, so we could hear.
We just don't want it full, so it takes longer than 2 hours to have a meeting, because this owner has limited 2 hours.
Okay. Harbor Interfaith is the lead group there. To have somebody from there who supervise or who organizes all the outreach would be a good, so that you get all the information. I can talk to the officer. Thank you.
He's got the head person coming.
Okay, Diana?
Use the mic.
Yeah. So we can get it on the record.
And also, please state your name for the record.
I have 2 questions. The first one has to do with the Westmont, same area you were talking about with the RVs. I don't know, it was yesterday or the day before, there appeared to be a fire up there. Was that in the warehouse, or was that from the RVs? Or do you know what
fire.
The story is on that?
There was an RV fire.
Okay, so we'll let LAPD address that. And then the other thing, I had a conversation with Erica, and we were talking about having some kind of a tracking system so that when the neighborhood council sent in letters, there was a way of telling us what staff person had been assigned, Do you know if there's been any further discussion of that? But, thank you.
I think I heard, Amanda, that you said you'll follow up?
Yes, I'll follow up with
Okay.
Erica.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I see no others. Thank you very much for being here, Amanda.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure that I see any other electeds here today, representatives. If I'm missing somebody, can you please raise your hand? He's not unelected. So Octaviano Rios, you're up from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment.
Mr. Chair and board members, it's been a while, but I have excused absences, so thanks to your president. So again, my name is Octaviano Rios. I'm with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I have a few updates. First off, in front of you, you should have a plastic binder, 3-ring binder, and that particular resource was provided to anybody that attended the onboarding sessions that we expected all of our newer board members to attend. And you should have also gotten an electronic copy from us, at the very least from me via an email. But we're encouraging folks to make some time from your busy schedule, especially the newer board members, to take a look at this board basics manual. And because I know that if you're anything like me and you take it home, it's probably going to sit on the side. I'm going to read the table of contents to entice you a bit to open it a little bit during the weekend and check out the resources that I think you'll find very valuable as a service to while you serve here on your neighborhood council. So first off, a 4-pager glossary of terms. LAPD is famous for it. LAFD is famous for their terms. We're no different. We have acronyms and a long list of them. So check them out. I think the most famous one for the neighborhood council system is NCs and MERS, neighborhood councils and monthly expenditure reports. So that's two of the many terms that are listed there. An introduction about neighborhood councils is also a big section. An introduction on neighborhood council elections. Very important contacts for you all in the neighborhood council system, including our information. Important contacts, advice on setting up contact information for NC board members, assets your NC should consider, and last but not least, a city directory of all of the city departments at City Hall. So, and a brief description of each one of them. So that should get the newer board members started in engaging as a board member in providing information to their constituents, and hopefully just increase your efficacy here on the board. And if you have any questions about this manual or anything else, of course, I'm always a resource, your first point of contact. And of course, you have other partners, City Attorney's Office, you have the City Clerk's Office, and of course, our department with all of our staff. Bylaw amendments, just a reminder, the application process is now open to submit amendments to your bylaws. You have a generous amount of time to consider any changes and submit the application. The deadline is next year, April 1st. But as we all know, those dates fast approach, and you wouldn't be alone if you did it last minute. But please consider that deadline as well. So, and your commissioners are very much a part of it if you have any board structure changes, because they have the last word in providing a review for any board structure changes within your bylaws. With regards to City Attorney's Office, I'm not sure I provided this last update, but the City Attorney's Office wanted us to share a brief message with regards to conflicts of interest and funding. And I'm just going to read it verbatim here. With any conflict of interest issue that comes up with an NPG or a CIP, please consult with your assigned deputy city attorney. Even if you discuss the same or a similar matter a previous year, Circumstances change and advice may change. Also, financial officers should not sign the board action certification, also known as the BAC, if they have recused themselves from an MPG/CIP. Others that are able to should sign it instead. So just a quick reminder, I guess this has been an issue in the last few months with NCs and not being aware of that and not having alternatives. So hopefully that provides a little bit of clarification with regards to that. Also, anybody who attended the Congress of Neighborhoods not so long ago, thank you for that. You probably saw me if you were at the workshop with how to work with senior lead officers, which was well attended. But there were so many other workshops and sessions to attend that were super awesome that you probably felt overwhelmed and spread thin. So from what I'm told, some of those sessions were recorded. So go to the Congress of Neighborhoods website for any updates with regards to that. And if you want to get involved with the planning of it for next year, I know they're always looking for volunteers and support. It's run by mostly volunteers, and our department is there in full force as well on the back end helping that awesome planning committee. And I was one of those folks that helped staff one of the workshops. So if I saw you or if I didn't see you, sorry, but I hope you enjoyed your breakfast and lunch and all the sessions. I believe that concludes my report, Mr. Chair, unless you have anything else. I know Board Member Christensen mentioned virtual meetings. I did talk briefly with our Public Information Officer, and she said that there will be some clarification provided to the Neighborhood Council systems, hopefully by Thursday. One thing that we have been sharing with NCs with regards to SB 411 and virtual meetings for neighborhood councils is to wait for the City Council to discuss and propose council file, the motion, so you are aware of what they're proposing so that you can bring it back to your neighborhood council and discuss it even further and weigh in officially, and hopefully in that process influence decision-making to a legislation that's satisfactory to the neighborhood council system. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rios. Do we have any questions or comments from around the table? I see no hands. So any questions or comments from the audience? I also see no hands. Octaviano, thank you very much for being here. Just as a point, I had an agenda-setting meeting this morning with the appropriate people for the commission, and one of the things I requested was a kind of a document now that 411 has passed and the City Council, kind of a document so that there's a clear understanding of what 411 means to all of us at the neighborhood council level. So it'll be a document that'll help guide us through that new process so that we're all doing it the same. So
appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner.
Really appreciate the work you all are doing out there for this. Okay, well, thank you very much. Before I bring up law enforcement, I see we have a very special guest, an alum of our neighborhood council. Yeah, I kind of got stuck in the throat too when I said that. Now a very popular commissioner with the Port of Los Angeles. I wonder if he'd like to come up and say a word or two, maybe three, if he's prepared. But an introduction would be nice. Yeah, I've never heard 3 words come out. Commissioner Lee Williams, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Ray. I had not intended to speak, but I just wanted to remind people as a citizen and a commissioner, but as a citizen, that the neighborhood council feedback is really important, and the more involvement that we have in neighborhood council activities is decisions are made and opinions are necessary to make those decisions, it's important that we all participate. So thank you for having me tonight. I'm a resident of the Northwest, and it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you for the work that you all do as volunteers. I know it's a thankless job.
Thanks for being here. Okay, for the next set of words coming from our illustrious law enforcement representatives today, I see Captain McGuire and Senior Lead Baloney. Like to come up and help us out. We do have a specific request this time around, and it's talking a little bit about what has happened with some of the shootings that we've seen around the area. So thank you for being here, both of you.
Of course. So I'm Officer Baloney, the Senior Lead Officer for Northwest San Pedro. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to go over a few statistics, and then yes, the Commanding Officer of Harbor Division will go over some of the incidents that have occurred within the past month. Statistics, so comparing September of 2023 to September of 2022, we did have 2 homicides that occurred this year in 23. We are down 100% in robberies. In aggravated assaults, we are down 7%. In regards to rape, there was 1 last year and 1 this year. Burglary, we are down 33%. GTA, we are down 30%. In burglary, theft for motor vehicles, we are up 55%, and theft, we are up 53%. Several special projects that I've been working on does include at 300 Westmont. So again, that's a large-scale coordinated effort to assist. That also includes nonprofit organizations and outreach for unhoused. Also, there was the encampment on John S. Gibson and Channel, which, according to the Caltrans and CHP, that should be taken care of tomorrow because there's a lot of fires that have been occurring under that freeway, and we've been getting several complaints in regards to that. So that should, if not already cleared out, it should be done by tomorrow. There is also the encampment here at Peck Park that has been getting some attention. We'll do our best to give it more attention to assist with helping those individuals as well find housing. Also to update on 719 South Pacific, there was a person that was living inside of a business that was not being tended to. Thankfully, the owner got very involved, and he did evict that person successfully, and he will be updating that property as soon as possible. Notable arrests that have occurred in Northwest San Pedro. There was a narco search warrant with an arrest off of 8th and Pacific. There was a burglary in progress that included 2 arrests with 2 suspects taken into custody. Multiple such possession of narcotic arrests. There was in one day multiple stolen vehicles that were recovered up there on 300 Westmont. And also we do have a retail theft that was an arrest that occurred at the Target over at 1701 North Gaffey. And then I do have, again, my commanding officer here, Captain McGuire, to speak on the incidents.
Thank you.
Hi, a lot of familiar faces in the room, but I'm Brett McGuire. For those that don't know me, Captain at Harbor Division. Thanks for inviting me here. Thank you for the teleprompter to remind me of the 4 items I'm supposed to talk about. But yeah, diving into some of the homicides, it's been busy lately in that regard. We made it all the way through June, I believe, 24th, with our first homicide in Harbor area, which was a record for us. We'd never made it that far into the calendar year without a homicide. But throughout the summer, and then especially September, has been especially busy with a lot of shootings throughout the Harbor area. We're now at 9 homicides. So you figure the first 6 months of the year we had 0, and then the last 3 since then we've had 9. You can definitely get an appreciation for the amount of violence that we've had. One of which was at Park Western. That incident, when they called me and woke me up in the middle of the night letting us know we had a homicide, I had them double check the location because that was pretty odd to have that type of incident occur in that area. But in that one, essentially what we had was a group of individuals that got together for the Canelo Alvarez fight, some sort of boxing match involving fighters. Obviously, you can tell I'm not a boxing fan, but a group of people got together to watch the fight, and we had our suspects that approached the location and began firing at the crowd of people who were congregating outside the apartment there. 4 people were struck in that incident. Luckily, 3 of those people had minor injuries stemming from either graze wounds or some that hit some of the limbs, so they did not have any serious injuries, but tragically there was a 17-year-old that was struck and killed by the gunfire there. That one, we're still tracking down the suspects, so we don't have the full motive or what's behind the shooting. The people that were involved as far as the victims, none of them were established members of an established gang. There is potential that some of them may be involved in what we call a tagging crew, or a group of individuals that haven't really got the full gang status, but some folks that may have been doing some graffiti, which another established gang may have taken offense to. But as of right now, we don't know the motive for the shooting. In speaking with our homicide investigators, we can't share too much of the information, but they do have some good leads that they're working off of. I think they have an idea of who the suspects potentially could be, but they're tracking down to identify those individuals and solve that case. So some of these homicides, from the outset, the investigation doesn't look good as far as whether we'll be able to make an arrest on this one. Looking at the evidence that we have right now, I can't guarantee anything, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to solve this one. And then obviously that will fill in some gaps as to who the players were involved as far as the suspects, why they decided to bring this level of violence to this neighborhood. But it looks like they were drawn there because of the participants in that party. The Target incident, we had an officer-involved shooting in the Target. Essentially, that stemmed from a child custody dispute. There was 2 family members in which the mother had lost custody of her child to a family member who took it over. There was some visitation rights with the mother. Essentially, the police were called because the mother was refusing to give the kid back to the now legal guardian. If you can track with me on that. Police were called. They were able to work with DCFS and figure out who the legal guardian of the child was. They were on scene for about 40 minutes, kind of resolving this dispute. Once they finally resolved it and brought the child back to the legal guardian, the mother of the child, we believe, was driving off to go home. Somewhere in there, they decided to make a U-turn and came back and drove very quickly at the family member who took the child and ran into them, essentially running them over with their pickup truck. And then as they did that, they then turned and started to drive in the direction of officers. And fearing that they were, now that they had just ran over an individual and now were driving, making a beeline towards the officers, they felt that they were in a threat to themselves, to the officers. So the officer did fire 2 shots towards the suspect's car. None of the rounds struck the actual suspect. They hit the vehicle. And the vehicle then drove out of the Target parking lot, and officers went in pursuit of that car. Ultimately, the car hit a tree in Point Fermin Park, and that suspect was taken into custody with some minor injuries from the traffic collision, but was not struck by the bullets. So with that, there's a big investigation that the LAPD does. The officer that fired the rounds per protocol has been removed from the field while we take a look at this incident. On October 31st, so in 21 days, we will release a video of that. So you'll get a very good glance as far as what went down and everything else. So we'll try to push that on our social media. So that should fill in some gaps as far as what happened there. Westmont RV, Officer Vallone, if you have any questions about what he's doing to address that, he can answer those. But this one, the RVs up on Westmont has been an ongoing issue, as I'm sure many of you in this room are well aware of, that we've been trying to resolve. Unfortunately, one of the nights, a female was killed. was struck over the head with some sort of blunt object, in which she passed away. There's indication that narcotics may be involved in some manner. We don't know exactly what, as far as sales or just the use of narcotics, but there was a dispute that arose in the middle of the night, and someone came to her motorhome, and she was struck over the head and killed. That one, investigators do, again, have some good leads that they're working off of, and I'm hopeful that they will be able to solve that one as well. I hate to say the silver lining to this, because I don't know if there can be a silver lining to a homicide, but I think it really has jump-started, or not jump-started, but again, we've been working on the issues of the RVs up in that area for a long time. I think this really helped bring some oomph behind some of those efforts from the rest of our city family and nonprofits that are working on this issue. So we're seeing some traction and movement in getting that finally resolved with the RVs up on Westmont. And then I think my last one is the plane crash at Field of Dreams. This one was a small two-seater aircraft that came out of Torrance Airport, in which the flight instructor was taking up a flight student that was on her very first flight. The plane experienced some engine trouble, and obviously the flight instructor was trying to find a safe place to land, and the plane just kind of basically conked out on him right over Field of Dreams. So the plane did crash land right there, and if you saw the video footage, it was quite the crash. Lucky for the individuals involved, there was no fire or anything else that came out of that. So the flight instructors got some very severe facial injuries and some critical injuries to himself. The flight student fared a little bit better, but she's got some pretty good broken bones as well. So to be honest, being at the site and seeing the wreckage, I'm shocked that both of them were not killed. But they were taken to the hospital, and both of them have survived. And the female, I think, has been released from the hospital. The male probably has a lot more ways to go as far as his medical things moving forward. But for the most part, we, in a sense, just held the evidence in the crime scene there, and the FAA came out to investigate that plane crash. So that's kind of the overview on all four of those major incidents. And it seems like it has been busy in Northwest San Pedro with some busy things going on, but we're hoping that's going to settle down here.
Thank you very much for both of you coming out here. We have some questions. I could see some hands already. So let's start with Melanie. And
with the RVs too there, then on top of it, there was the fire too the other night then too that burned out the RV completely. That was bad.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing problem that just keeps going and going. So Park Western, you said that you suspect that they're trying to be a gang graffiti, because we've suspected all along that up there is where it's called the locals. They're calling themselves Park Western Locals or something like that. They're the ones that keep tagging Harbor Highlands Park, that whole wall all the time, and some of the tags that are in San Pedro trying to make themselves relevant.
Right.
And is that what you're thinking, is it's them trying to get into the whole gang atmosphere?
It could be. Like I said, we know that they're involved with that, but sometimes just because they're two gang members that shoot each other, sometimes it's over an ex-girlfriend. It has nothing to do with their gangs. Sometimes it's gang members shooting other gang members just because you're a member of that gang. So, like I said, I think once we get the suspect into custody, we'll be able to fill in those gaps as to the why. So,
thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course.
any other hands around the table? I see none. Diana?
Uh-huh.
Excuse me, ma'am, I can't hear you.
It was an RV fire. It was an RV fire. I've got pictures if you want to see them.
I answered it? All right, good. Melanie, you can answer all my questions. Go ahead. Any other questions for Melanie? No?
Any other questions? I don't see any hands. Lee, do you have any other final comments? Or words of encouragement? No? Okay, good.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I do not see any other people that under this agenda item, so we're going to go ahead and close out agenda item number 4. We're going to move on to agenda item number 5, and that is our presentation from our representative of the USS Iowa.
This microphone's coming way down. Kyle will have to share. Good evening. Thank you for inviting us to your council meeting this month. My name is Jenny Sova. I am the Chief of Staff at the Battleship Iowa. I'm also one of 4 lead planners for LA Fleet Week, which comes to the Port of Los Angeles every Memorial Day weekend. It used to be Labor Day weekend. I also want to introduce my coworker, colleague, Kyle Aubie. Kyle is our Director of Development at Battleship Iowa. So for those of you that don't know, I'll just kind of start out this way. Battleship Iowa receives no government funding. All right, so we are a 501c nonprofit corporation, and all of the monies that help us stay afloat, literally and figuratively, is raised by our development team, led by Kyle, as well as sponsorship, revenue that we bring in from events. We are an events venue, our ticket sales, donations, food and beverage, et cetera. So we are so thankful that you invited us here today. I understand from Ray when he came into the room that you already voted as a council to support the move of Battleship Iowa to West Harbor. It was my understanding that I was coming here this evening to share why that is important to move us to West Harbor, but you've already voted for us, so thank you. So I think what I'd like to do, I'm going to go through the presentation. You're actually stuck with me. My boss, our president CEO, Jonathan Williams, usually does his presentation. He's done this on the deck, on the fantail of the Battleship Iowa recently. Some of you, I believe, were there. And since we were invited, he's traveling, so he asked me to do it. So I'm pinch hitting tonight. So I'll go through the slides. And then what I'd really like to do through this is share who we are, so you understand the importance of your vote in supporting us to move to West Harbor. And I'm going to let Kyle speak to that as well. All right, and then we'll open it up for questions afterward. All right, so next slide. I get to say next slide. That's what I was advised to do, so no clicker. Okay. All right. So so of course we have our holiday parade here in San Pedro annually, and Battleship Iowa actually had an office. We started before the ship came here to the Port of Los Angeles in 2012, and you can see us on the back of that truck, a little bit of our artwork there. But we participated as an organization. We are our legal organization is Pacific Battleship Center. I know that's kind of boring, but we're DBA Battleship Iowa. So that was our first participation in the community. Next slide. You can see it there. Next slide, please. All right. And then we came in from San Francisco Bay. We were brought down in the summer of 2012 and arrived in the Port of Los Angeles on June 9th, 2012. Next slide. And then we opened this is our home at Berth 87 along Harbor Boulevard and just south of the World Cruise Terminal. And that is where we are today still. We opened on July 4th in 2012 to the community. Next slide. All right. So what I think is most important for all of you to know, by show of hands, how many of you have visited the Battleship Iowa? Oh, so many of you. That's great. We meet a lot of people from just the South Bay area that haven't come down yet in 11 years, so that's why I ask. All right. So our staff, and this may surprise you, it surprises a lot of our people, our staff is made up of 10% paid employees, 90% volunteers. So when you see 55,000 annual volunteer hours, we're not exaggerating. We depend on our volunteers. We empower them to do very important work on the ship. 50% of our volunteers, roughly, are veterans from all branches of the military, and the rest come from public and private sectors. Most retire, but not all. We do have some younger volunteers. Next slide. We also have STEM education that we provide to students, over 20,000 students annually. I hope to go in that a little bit more. But this is predominantly, we have funding for Title I schools in Los Angeles, LAUSD. We also have other school districts that come on board, and they are sponsored to come on board through fundraising and generous donors. Next slide. All right, and then LA Fleet Week. Most people know us as the backdrop for LA Fleet Week, which focuses the attention on our beautiful community of San Pedro, puts us on the map, and hopefully like West Harbor will do. All right. We actively support, and some of you may have been recipients of this, we support hundreds of local organizations with fee waivers to use our facility as an event venue. We also, I don't know how many ticket donations we do the year. Oh, you may know this. Kyle may have the statistic on that. But we are a community partner, and we believe in giving back to our community and surrounding communities. Next slide. All right. So we have a very large number here. We generate approximately $11.5 million annually for the local economy. Kyle is going to speak about that, hopefully, if we have the time permitting. Next slide. We're also the community's continuity hub in disaster planning. A show of hands, does anybody know what DSCA is? By show of hands, DSCA, D-S-C-A? Another acronym. We're talking acronyms. Okay, great. DSCA is Defense Support of Civil Authorities. To keep it simple, this is the connector. We are a connector, Battleship Iowa, through relationships in Fleet Week with our military and our local first responders. But it's really our Defense Department supporting our local or first responder authorities to support in a disaster situation. And that happened on March 27th. As you know, the USNS Mercy came up from San Diego to serve as a hospital for non-COVID patients. So people that were in the hospital but did not contract COVID. This ship came up to free up our local hospitals, to provide beds for them so that our actual hospitals could serve and support people that contracted COVID. Next slide. We are also a first responder training site. We have several agencies that train on board Battleship Iowa. We don't charge them to do that. It's part of our community pillar. LA City Fire, LAPD, LA County Fire, Long Beach Fire, Long Beach PD, LA County Sheriffs. We have many groups that come on board, many local agencies that train on board year round. All right. So we like to say we've accomplished all of this from behind fences. We're a huge battleship. We're almost 900 feet in length, but we're kind of hiding back there right now, and we're hoping to change that by making a move south 1 mile to West Harbor. Next slide. And imagine what we can do in a more prominent location. There we go. Next slide, please. All right, so as stated, we are located 1 mile north of West Harbor, so north of the Harbor Cut, and LAFD Fire Station 112s. We are just north of there, for those of you that aren't familiar. Next slide. I'm sorry, can you go back 1 moment, please? Thank you. Okay. So I don't have a pointer, but if you look to the right of your screen and the slip where the fishing boats currently are, I still think of it as Ports of Call because I grew up here, but with West Harbor now. So you see the ship, there's a rendition where the West Harbor development is looking to place us. So it's about 1 mile south, and that's the slip where they're looking to put us. Next slide. We've got even bigger plans, of course. And that is the National Museum of the Surface Navy. For those of you that don't know, Senator Dianne Feinstein, in partnership with Congresswoman Nanette Barragan, brought a bill to Congress to designate us as the National Museum of the Surface Navy. And they did that. They accomplished that for us on our behalf, so we thank them. What does that mean? We are bringing we are elevating the local battleship Iowa to a national level museum. We will be the first and are the first national museum designated to celebrate, honor, and educate about our surface Navy. Next slide. All right, so this is the world, the globe, as we know, all of our continents. Next slide. And why is this important? Why is the National Museum of the Surface Navy important? If you see here, these colored arrows are illustrating our shipping lanes or our trade lanes across the world. So our Navy protects these lanes. A lot of people think of our Navy as just military support, and right, so now they're in the Middle East. But year-round, they're placed all around the world to protect our trade. Next slide. All right. So these are two facts. 90% of trade flows on the surface of our oceans. How many knew that? It's pretty significant. Okay. We have someone in the room that knew that. Love it. And 95% of our international communications actually takes place under the oceans. That fact blew my mind. Next slide. All right. Next slide, please. All right. So these are renditions of the development of our national museum. So we are looking to open phase 1 in October of 2025, so 2 years from now. And these are renditions of the museum in its different phases, which includes an outbuilding. Obviously, we are not building that outbuilding yet. We are waiting to find out if our move is sure to West Harbor. So we are holding on to the funding that the state of California has given us, $6.7 million to help us build this outbuilding for the National Museum and to support the community. Next slide. All right. So what will we build if we move down to West Harbor? A few things on the left side of your screen. Freedom of the Seas Park and Pavilion, which will be open for community use. The National Museum of the Surface Navy at Battleship Iowa, which will be on board the ship and in an outbuilding or multiple outbuildings. Maritime memorials and artifacts, and then our current Vicky's, we have a Vicky's Cafe, called Vicky's Doghouse on board the ship, and catering for events. And I can barely read by 2028, so I'm going to ask you to go to the next slide. All right, what are the community benefits to moving us to West Harbor? Again, I don't need to convince you because you've already voted in support of it, but we will maximize the average spend per visitor by unifying the waterfront as a destination. Right now, I don't know if you know this, but we have on average 1 million people coming through our cruise terminal into San Pedro and the Port of Los Angeles every year. Now, for Kyle and I that work on the battleship and those that have been there a long time, we see their movement, and they don't go past the Battleship Iowa because they don't visually see where else they can go. They ask our security guards all the time, is there anything to do in San Pedro, right? So they leave. They're not spending their money here. They're spending it on their cruise, but they're not spending it in San Pedro and in the Port of Los Angeles. So we are hoping by bringing the Iowa down to West Harbor that we will help expand West Harbor as a tour destination and get people to stay in San Pedro, because the longer they stay, the more money they'll spend. That's how it works. Economic impact. Number 2. Back. Sorry. Back. Thank you. Increase available space for community events. So we became very popular during COVID or post-COVID with an outdoor venue. Most places are indoors, so our fantail is outdoors. We actually invested infrastructure into our events business, and now we have space on different deck levels, including the fantail and indoor space. So if we move to West Harbor, we'll also have an outbuilding and a community center that'll be affordable space to rent for events. And then, of course, unify the waterfront for mutual benefit of the community. All right, let's move on. Next slide. So, the time is now. Almost time, right, Lee? We got a few years. Hopefully, we're going to move down to West Harbor. I want to just share 3 points about Battleship Iowa, again, that you may not know since you voted in support of us. We are not just a museum. We are a museum, and we attract several thousand visitors every year. But we have 3 core pillars as a nonprofit, for those of you that are familiar with nonprofits and how they benefit the community. One is veterans. We have a veterans pillar. We support veterans by offering them services as they transition out of the military. They may have been out of the military for several years, and we connect them with resources, jobs, job placement, housing, etc. We were awarded the LA County VPAN District 4, which is Janice Hahn's district. And we have that now housed on Battleship, Iowa, where we support veterans through peer-to-peer contact. And we were just awarded Supervisorial District 2's VPAN, which is a huge win for our community and for our veterans. And as I shared with you earlier, 50% of our volunteer base are veterans. And Los Angeles is one of the largest hubs for veterans in the United States. All right. And then our other pillar is education. And I mentioned that earlier. We educate students from elementary through middle school now, looking to add to high school programs. Kyle, would you like to add anything before we open it up for questions? Did I cover it? Oh, no. No, Kyle's the stats guy. He has the numbers. So if you're interested, maybe we'll wait and let people ask questions if they have any. So I'd like to ask if anyone has questions, Ray. I didn't go in with the pitch of why it's important for us to move, because you supported us. But we so appreciate your support, and we really believe wholeheartedly we're all very dedicated to this mission, and we are all in support of this community.
So I see a quick hand that popped up.
Great.
Vic?
I saw on the map where you were planning on having all this done 2028. Which part of 2028? Because there are other things, the Olympics, the Vincent Thomas Bridge redecking, if they go with the 3-year route.
Right.
Do you see that causing any problems with what you're doing? And are you hoping to finish before the Olympics, because that would be a good tourist thing for those coming in?
Absolutely. It's an excellent question. So as I said, we will open up the National Museum in phases, whether it's in our present location or in West Harbor. These are factors that we can't control, but we are staying laser focused on opening in the phases with our final phase in 2028. So to give you an honest answer, I don't know, right? We have to go with what's happening around us. So, yeah. It's an excellent question. Thank you.
Any other questions from around the table? Chris.
Hi. Just out of curiosity, how much does it cost to maintain the ship for a year? And is it permanently decommissioned? It belongs to the nonprofit now?
It does, yes. I'll answer your second question first. Yes, the ship was permanently decommissioned. Do you know the year? It was, the decommission. 1990. Thank you. See, he's the numbers guy. That's why he's here. And he's great support. Yes, it was decommissioned, and it was we obtained the ship from the Navy, and through under Pacific Battleship Center, which is our nonprofit, which was in 2019. And then the second question. Say again. Yes. Kyle, please. Go ahead.
Quick history. So the battleship was decommissioned in 1990, put into mothballs. It sat up in actually New Jersey for years, and then Dianne Feinstein was instrumental in helping move that ship actually to California. There was a trade with the USS New Jersey to swap the ships and have it run over. So long story short, sat in mothballs. Our CEO got involved in 2001 writing grants. Pacific Battleship Center was founded in 2008, became an advocacy group to turn the ship into a museum, and then in 2011 we obtained the ship opening here in Los Angeles. 2012.
And I was just wondering, how much does it cost to maintain the ship for a year?
Sure. Maintenance is usually between $2 and $2.5 million at baseline. So Jenny had mentioned that we're a nonprofit organization with no government funding coming in, and we've been awarded a grant from the state, but everything that we do get from local government, state government, is through a grant application, usually through a third party. The ship itself, the hull is our biggest focus, and so we cannot do anything else if our hull is not the integrity is not sound. So we focus most of our time there. But On top of that $2.5 million number, then we start fundraising to operate our programs. So all in, we're about a $5.5 million organization, pushing on 6. Our programs have been growing rapidly over the past 3, 4, 5 years, but even during the COVID years, we were able to maintain a solid base and shift a lot of our programs to be able to serve those 20,000 kids a year, the 20,000 veterans a year, et cetera.
Thank you.
Any other questions from around the table? I see no hands, so we'll go out to the audience, and right away I saw Pat Nave's hand to go up.
This is Pat Nave, Stakeholder. This is a question for the Iowa people, but also for our erstwhile friend and former council member Lee Williams. The prior support for this council mentioned in the resolution that the port should take into account the increase in port revenues from the move of the Iowa to the fisherman's slip. For example, there's now will be a new berth available in a backland area that's quite large for other commercial uses, perhaps a cruise ship or something else. Also, there'll be an increase in revenues for the public market, and also for the Iowa. Hopefully, that increases the amount of rent that the port gets. So my question for the two of you, for the port and for the Iowa people, is: have you done any studies to quantify the increase or the benefit to the port monetarily? And Lee, I know the port doesn't do anything without quantifying something, so if you would be so kind as to ask Chief Soroka to provide those numbers, it would be a great help to all of us.
I cannot speak on the port's behalf of the revenue that will be coming in. I do know that it's estimated that there is a multi-million-dollar loss at the moment by having people that are coming to visit the Battleship Iowa or in the cruise terminal area immediately exiting and not continuing on to the waterfront. I think that's a big portion of why we are emphasizing that it is important to create that connected waterfront so that people are turning San Pedro from a single day or a single hours destination into a day destination, if not longer. That's where those dollars come in, and you're turning the $35 or $40 on average per person that comes in into $80, $90, $100 per person. Those are just from our estimates. The West Harbor portion, I can't really speak to the rents or associated revenues that would come in on the port side.
Okay, any other questions? I don't see any other hands. Thank you so much for coming out. This was
Thank you for having us.
Great
It's really great.
presentation.
It's really neat to see how you operate and all the work that you do, all of you.
Yeah, you
Thank
do
you.
some great work out there. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our presentation. Agenda item number 5. We're going to move on to our consent calendar. We have actually just one item, and that is to approve the minutes from our last meeting, September 11th.
So moved.
Do I hear him? Okay, we got to move. We need a second.
Second.
Question?
Who was the second?
So let's
Kelly.
get the second in. Kelly did the second. Mel got the first. And you get the first question. Adam Stevenson.
On the roll call, I am listed as unexcused absence. However, on September the 10th, I sent you an email and we personally talked about me being on vacation, so I just wanted to see how we can make that necessary correction.
I believe I recall that.
Yeah. So we'll get that changed. Thank you. So we'll change that. Anything else? Okay. With that, can we take a vote? with the correction.
Okay, with the correction for the consent calendar, Vic Christensen, aye. Craig Goldfarb?
Aye.
Melanie LeBrecq?
Aye.
Kayla Miller?
Aye.
Ben Norman? Aye. Thomas Norman? Aye. Ray Regalado?
Yes.
Michael Signorelli?
Aye.
Adam Stevenson?
Aye.
Chris Valle?
Aye.
Okay, that's 10 ayes and no nays.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go on to item number 7, which are the motions. We have are a few from our Budget and Finance Committee. So, Melanie, would you like to take care of those?
Yeah, go to page 21, and that's where the MER is. And this is not out of committee. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Chris.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, who?
Second, Thomas. Okay, any discussion?
No hands.
No discussion, so we'll move for the vote. Thomas Norman.
Aye.
Victor Christensen.
Aye.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Craig.
Abstain.
Huh?
Abstain.
Abstain? Okay. Adam Stevenson.
Aye.
Melanie, yes. Kelly.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Aye.
And Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
All right. Next is the budget, which is on page 13. This is out of committee, so any discussion? No discussion. Call for the vote. Thomas Norman. Aye. Vic Christensen.
Aye.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb.
Aye.
Adam Stevenson.
Aye.
Melanie LeBrecq, yes. Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Aye.
And Michael Signorelli.
Yes. Aye.
Okay, the next item is on page 16. And this is a motion to use the $1,200 allocated for crafts and sponsorship of Candy Cane Lane. This is out of committee.
500 first.
Oh, it's the parade first?
Yes.
Oops, it's listed first. Never mind. Reverse, sorry. The parade is first, so back up and go to page 14. This is to use the $500 for the San Pedro Holiday Parade to participate and sponsor. This is out of committee. The money's already been allocated. This is just to use the money that was allocated. So any discussion?
You changed from one to another?
Yeah, no, because he told me the other one's first on the agenda. So page 14 and 15 is the budget. Any discussion? So call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
Victor?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Craig?
Aye.
Adam Stevenson?
Aye.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Chris Valle?
Aye.
And Michael?
Aye.
Now page 16 for Candy Cane Lane. This is Candy Cane Lane that's on Weymouth Corners every year. This is for us to table it, as well as buy candy canes and little crafts that we give the kids. $1,200 is the budget. This is out of committee. Any discussion?
Page 17 means a zero drop from the sponsorship.
What?
On page 17, we need to drop a zero from the sponsorship.
I don't understand what you're saying.
There's a typo on the.
Oh, a zero.
Too many
Oh,
zeros.
yeah, there's an extra zero. Okay.
Just wanted to make sure it wasn't on any of the official
Yeah, no, it's
paperwork.
$1,000.
That's what I thought.
I'll fix that.
And the organizers have confirmed that we're going forward with the.
It is going forward.
Okay.
Yeah, if you see on the other page, page 18 is the invoice she sent me
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes it official.
for $1,000.
All right.
Okay, call for the vote then. Thomas?
Aye.
Victor?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Craig?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Chris?
Aye.
And Michael?
Aye.
And that be all.
Okay, great. We'll go to item B, the executive committee. There's a motion out of the executive committee, and it has to do with a request to support parks and recreation and parks to convert 2 tennis courts out in the outer portion of the park, to transition them from tennis to pickleball courts, and they're asking for our support and recommendation to do that. And the letter states that. So, is there any discussion, any questions from around the table?
Well, what page is the letter on?
23.
Page 23. It's out of committee.
It's out of committee.
Craig?
Has anybody asked for community input on this? I mean, it came out of committee. Did you committee? I mean, I know people that are in favor of this. I know people that are in the tennis courts that that play tennis and would feel that pickleball was impinging on their spaces. I would think that we as a board would be interested in getting some feedback from those people and finding out whether they approve. I've been noting that pickleball is being pushed a lot by basically a profit organization that is looking to profit out of pickleball. I don't know how this affects people and whether whether people in our community are looking to do pickleball. I would volunteer and go and ask people that are playing tennis at the courts and ask them if they have a problem with this, if that is an issue. But I would like to make a motion to table this until we could get some community input.
So there is a motion for that. Is there a second? I do not hear a second, but I think that's a valid concern, and I think our
I have a comment.
Park might have a.
So I also work here at Peck Park Community Center or Peck Park Rec Center, whichever way you guys are looking to call us. But we have done, as a recreation center, we did a community survey both with the tennis players and with pickleball players. And that community survey was to see if it would impact the tennis players. So on a daily basis and on a hourly basis, we would walk down to the tennis courts and we would have conversations with those tennis players and with those pickleball players to see what they felt about the possibility of having these 2 courts turned into designated pickleball courts. So we didn't have any complaints from any tennis players. We didn't have any complaints, obviously, from any pickleball players, specifically because the pickleball players are going to hopefully eventually get their pickleball courts. We have 6 courts right now. And with the possibility of bringing pickleball permanently to Peck Park, we would still have 4 tennis courts, and we would have then 2 pickleball courts, 2 tennis courts designated as pickleball courts, which could potentially bring us 8 pickleball courts that can fit on those 2 tennis courts. So the next thing that's happening right now, besides the surveys we did with the community, is a sound survey. So they are going through the community and seeing what kind of sound the pickleball players are actually making, and is that going to affect the neighbors and the community surrounding those pickleball courts. We might not think it's too loud, but when you do approach, you can hear the dinks and the dunks that are happening from pickleball, but also as well as on the tennis courts. Right now, Peck Park, in order to help continue with the survey, we run open pickleball play that we monitor. Everything else is strictly tennis, but on Tuesday mornings from 8 to 12, and then from Friday evenings from 4 to 8, we monitor open pickleball that right now is getting great attendance. So we are hoping that this attendance and the surveys we've done will help push the creation of those pickleball courts a little quicker. I don't know if anybody has any questions for the park concerning pickleball.
Okay, I see Tom Norman.
Yeah, I had a question before considering seconding Goldfar's motion. You touched on one with the sound, because I've read and heard about this and see pickleball. Some communities that have embraced pickleball are now going back because of sound complaints. I'm glad to hear that you're collecting data on that. My informal observation of visiting this park about twice a week shows most of the tennis courts are empty most of the time. So do you have any data on the utilization? I mean, I have heard people enjoying pickleball. There's been excitement. It seems like that's been pretty active, but I'd rather look at data than just, my coming by at random times.
Right. So the data collected was by me. Like I said, it was a daily thing, if not an hourly thing, where we were going and visiting the tennis players, mostly to have a conversation with them, but also to see how many courts were occupied, how many people were on that court, were they staying there for the designated time. But from what I gathered that I turned over to our upper management was that there were always at least a court open. There was always at least a tennis court open, making that available to anybody who would want to play tennis that wouldn't impede on what was happening with the pickleball players, and also, of course, what was happening on those tennis courts, because right now everything still is a tennis court besides Tuesday mornings and Friday evenings.
Okay, Adam Stevenson.
Really quick, I attended both of the 1-5 town halls, and in both of those meetings, which is basically community representation, the subject of pickleball came up in both of those, and it was kind of overwhelming. So if we take that data and what the community did bring when they had the opportunity, it kind of shows that the community was for the pickleball.
Thank you. Melanie?
Yeah, because one of my neighbors attended the meeting because I was curious and even came over here to see what pickleball was. And just talking with people out there at the courts, there's a big push for the pickleball stuff, and they're wanting to get it going. I think due diligence by Peck Park has been done to do the surveys and stuff that they did. I really think it has been in order for us to move on and support this.
Thank you. Any other hands up? Comments? I'd like to conclude by indicating that this recommendation is going to the Rec and Parks Commission, which means that their commission will also be taking it up, which means that if there is any future opposition or question, there's an opportunity at that time to also address the commission. So this is just our commission supporting Peck Park's desire to shift that court over. So Any comments or questions from the audience? And I see Lori jumping up.
I'm very interested in this because my understanding is pickleball is perhaps a sport for older adults where it's not quite as strenuous as tennis.
Yeah.
So a lot of senior programs, and if we can get more people outdoors, and as long as we still have tennis courts open, I think this is a great idea.
Thank you. Any other comments? Tom?
Just what's an estimate of the cost of conversion, and if it wasn't like converting it back, like what type of investment?
Could you move the mic a little bit closer?
Sorry, just wondering on any estimate of the cost, the program, because that'll be funds then that wouldn't go to other programs.
So I don't have any numbers in the way of the cost. That's all going to be dealt with through CD15 because they are actually the ones doing the sound survey right now. So I think a lot of what's on hold is that last survey to see how the community is going to react to the sound that's created both with pickleball and tennis.
Okay. Yeah, Tom?
Can I offer a one-word amendment? I'd like to propose.
Okay, this is we do not have an amendment on the line, so this will be your amendment for this.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
We have to deal with what Craig
No,
did.
we didn't get a second.
Oh,
on that.
okay. We didn't get a
Yeah,
second.
I think that died for lack of a second. But in the spirit, I'd like to have the board consider adding the word exploring on the first line. Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council would like to extend our support to exploring the conversion of 2 tennis courts, pickleball courts at Peck Park Recreation Center. And the reason for that is it seems like we still are in an exploration. It depends on the cost or other factors could come up. So I'll offer that. And if there's no second.
So we have an amendment to add the term,
I'm not
the
real-
word exploring. Second?
I didn't hear it. So it's really hard to hear you.
Yeah, let me get it closer. Wanted to insert the word exploring after the word to on the first line on page 23.
So extend our support to explore the conversion of 2 tennis courts.
Exploring with an IMG.
Support to exploring the conversion of 2 tennis courts.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on the amendment?
I would say just grammatically for exploring as opposed to exploring. Support for as opposed to support to.
I think that'd be a fine amendment.
Support for exploring.
So is it, we're okay for exploring?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should always be grammatically correct.
Yeah. Would like to extend our support for exploring conversion of 2 tennis courts.
Cheryl, do you have that? Okay. All right. Any other discussion? I see no hands. Audience? I see no hands from the audience. Okay, for the amendment, the 2-word change, can we take a vote count?
Vic Christensen. Aye. Craig Goldfarb.
Aye.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Aye.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Ben Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Chris Faye.
Aye.
Okay. That is 10.
Okay, so now for voting on the amended letter. Let's go ahead and take a vote count on that.
I thought that's what we did.
No, that's just accepting the,
Amendment.
yeah.
Got to take my notes. Okay, as amended, Vic Christensen, aye. Craig Goldfarb.
Abstain.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Ben Norman,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Michael Signorelli,
Abstain. I don't think I can vote on that one.
Adam Stevenson,
Yes.
Chris Feige.
Yes.
Okay, that's 8 ayes, 2 abstentions.
Okay. So the amended motion passes. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and go to the item number 8, the President's meeting with the port. Thomas?
Thank you. I'll keep it quick. Though we got started a little bit late, it was a quite informative meeting. We learned about how cruise ships are getting larger and larger, and great interest in increasing the number of cruise ships long term. They had a lot of meetings to announce, some of which have taken place, but one that hasn't we might be interested in is the Port of LA is hosting the 3rd virtual public meeting on air quality monitoring program, October 24th. Discussion of green shipping corridor, getting good press on that. Some of us attended the connectivity plan at San Pedro that was held on September 28th. They were promoting that, along with discussion on connectivity and some updates on the interchange. It's going to affect traffic pretty severely. So those were the highlights of the meeting. Without having the slides or the pictures we saw, I can't really do the meeting justice. But if you have any questions, or if you who also attended, Ray, want to add to it, please do so.
No, you covered it pretty well. Appreciate you being there. Is there any comment, questions from around the table? I see no hands out in the audience. No hands. Okay. That puts close on the President's meeting. What I'd like to do is that I'd like to pass the responsibility for the rest of the meeting to the Vice President, Chris, and I'm going to take my leave at this time. I'm kind of suffering from the remnants of a cold here, and I got some stuff I got to take. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you all being here, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
That's chicken soup.
Yep, feel better.
All righty. So next on our agenda would be committee reports, first of which would be mine from Youth and Outreach. So briefly, this is kind of the busy season for Youth and Outreach. We already had our motions to secure and allocate our funding for the December events. I attended the Congress of Neighborhoods last 2 weeks ago, and I think the most significant thing, other than it being back in person for first time in a few years, and the kind of networking and social aspect, was I was able to sit in on one of the workshops on a social media policy, and it's something I'm, as the chair of Youth and Outreach, directly responsible for, but there's a couple of takeaways in particular that will at least noticeably, if not significantly, affect how we do that. First of which is it is considered a rule that is something that we should not do, if at all avoidable, is that for any post made on social media by one of our accounts, that is a post on Instagram or Facebook or Nextdoor, Twitter if we were using that, or whatever, as a board member, you are not allowed to like or comment on a post made by the neighborhood council that you serve on. Now, to clarify, the neighborhood council account, whoever happens to be using it, can like and I guess potentially comment on other posts, but I, as Chris Valle, could not. I couldn't post on the neighborhood council Instagram account and then use one of my other accounts to like that post. That is part of a landscape of these new rules, which are not entirely clear, and it's something I'm kind of digging through and looking for more guidance on. One of the other main takeaways was that as social media is being recognized as a regular and in some cases the main forward-facing part of neighborhood council activity, the report on the status, essentially, and the operations of the social media accounts is intended to, or is by rule, it's now going to be a regular part of the report. So it's something we've had as a regular part of committee meetings, but it's also meant to be something that is brought up to the board, so it's going to be a regular part of the committee reports as well. There'll be further discussion. I'm going to try and get some questions answered and boil it all down into essentially, I don't know if it's going to be a manual for the committee or if it's something that even needs to be mentioned in terms of bylaws. But for instance, one of the other directives was that the social media account manager, whoever it is, holds the passwords, who actually writes and submits the posts, needs to be approved by the board, essentially, so that our de facto situation is as the chair of Youth and Outreach, that person serves as the editor and publisher of the newsletter, and it serves as the manager for the social media accounts, and as appointed and then appointed by the president and approved by the board under the Youth and Outreach rules, essentially, that's where that responsibility lies. But I believe that is something that is subject to, if that's going to be the standard, that is, if the Youth and Outreach chair is going to be or is going to delegate responsibility for those accounts, that's something that the board gets to sound in on. And so those are the weightiest takeaways from this last month or so. But we had gone over the planning for Candy Cane Lane and the holiday parade pretty thoroughly. And so the only other thing was to ask for all of our other board members and committee chairs, if you have topics of interest or that you think would be of interest for the newsletter, which we are continuing to debate in terms of its place in our outreach functions, as well as social media posts, which we intend to be a lot more timely and current. Please submit those to me or to whomever is the social media manager. It is something we would like to make more regular. We have essentially constant growth. It's been between 8 and 10% per month. Per quarter. And the software allows us on Instagram to look back over the 90-day period. So it's been pretty consistent, 8 to 10% growth over that time period. So even when we're not posting, we're gaining followers, and it's becoming an easy way to see how our messaging engages or not. And we don't have typically conversations or a lot of feedback on the channel, but it is a kind of a go-to for people socially to see what's going on. So in the same scrolling session where they might see what's on LA Times or KTLA, we have an opportunity to put our messages there as well. And it's something that seems to be growing even without regular posts. So I'm asking for assistance and input from other board members and committee chairs to deliver or find things that's going on in your areas that you think should be shared that way. And then please, although I guess you can't like and comment, I do invite you to follow at NWSPNC on Instagram, which is our sort of main output, and its content is copied over to Facebook. And those are owned by the same company, but essentially Instagram posts are then copied to our Facebook channel, which is usually shared to the San Pedro page and associated groups. So, question from Melanie? Yes.
Okay, so with the social media thing then, to clarify, so like if you post on Instagram and you post on our neighborhood council page, say I have the flyer, I have a copy of it in my file. To get circulation on the other San Pedro pages, what has been done in the past, like for the movie, is I'll share it, John will share it on his neighborhood council, or on his personal account, I'll share it on my personal account, other people will share it on their personal account to get it like spread all over the San Pedro pages. Is that going to be okay anymore to do that?
Which is a good question. I didn't think of that one. I did not hear that question fielded at the time. Maybe Octaviano could clarify for us. But I did not. I mean, my understanding was that it was.
It's not sharing off the Facebook page or the Instagram.
Right.
It's sharing my own personal copy of the flyer all over.
And so one of the other, and this one's thornier and a lot more somehow thorny and nebulous at the same time, that as a board member, you're not meant to post or comment or like content that may potentially come up for consideration by the board, which of course is I dare say ridiculous.
Right, but after like an event, if it's been approved already.
Well, no, but I'm saying that amongst the other things. So I don't know if there is a stipulation that includes posting identical information to which you as a stakeholder or private citizen have access. So if it's a flyer that's publicly available, I would imagine it would be all right, even though it might be a duplicate of something. But if it's not the post from the neighborhood council itself, at least the way the rule was presented to me, it would be all right. So if you and John were to post that same flyer.
He's nodding his eyes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead, because at this point I'm
Can you come
halfway
up to
speculating.
I can't hear.
I guess the quick answer on this is it's a case by case, because if we give a general blanket approval for flyers, the risk there is that each flyer is going to be different, and some have more content than others.
My concern was like a movie that we're doing that's already been approved, because we wouldn't distribute it until after it's already been approved, or like Candy Cane Lane that's coming up to get people to attend. Or like the movie that CD15 is putting on the 28th that we're bought the candy and the popcorn for to advertise it.
And it's essentially just resharing events, not necessarily town halls where it's a hot issue. So that's what we're discussing, and I think that's okay to do, and that's what you want to do, right? You want to reshare a lot of these events that have nothing to do with things that might show up at a future neighborhood council meeting, right?
Right.
Unless you're looking for funding, unless you're promoting something that in terms of addressing speed humps or standing water, any of that case by case,
right.
How much content, how much resharing can you do? Then it becomes advocacy. That's the other word that we're trying to prevent from happening. Even though we think of the neighborhood council as an advocacy agency, your role is to communicate your needs to City Hall. But
right.
Going back to events, generally speaking, that should be okay.
Okay.
And I can get more information on that and how it relates to the social media policy.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very
and
much.
Then, Chris, the other thing is we have a movie on the 27th or 28th that a lot of people may not know about that we're kind of halfway sponsoring for McCoster's for CD15. They're doing a movie with Peck Park, and we are also part of it. So everybody show up and support it.
27th, yes.
27th, sorry.
Thank you for reminding me, actually. Speaking of that, it is Halloween movie night, October 27th, here beginning at 5 p.m. It's going to be essentially a bigger, broader event than we've had for our movie nights in the past. This is in cooperation, and I forget the name, I'm sorry, with Warren Chapel, CD15, Big Nick's, Athens Services, ourselves, and so it's going to be essentially a larger event, and it's honestly the model for the type of thing we would like to do, where partnering with other agencies or other groups, as opposed to kind of taking on the cost and the procedural complexity of getting things approved. If someone else has already got a party and they invite us, we can do just as much to show up as we could as if we'd thrown it ourselves. And so please attend. And I believe that was it for our I'm sorry, I'm looking at multiple pieces of paper. That was it for the Youth and Outreach Committee report. And so we'll work our way down.
Quick question on that.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So in the minutes, I see the report for August 28th. Did you also have minutes from the meeting we just had in September, or I was wondering if maybe these were inserted twice by mistake? I know I missed.
That might. I'll check with Angela. That might be.
It's a mistake.
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, it would have to have been because.
Yeah, she did a oops.
It's in the future.
Yeah, because I remember being at the.
Yes.
I was at the September one, but not the.
Yeah, thank you for that. All right, so we're going to move on to item 9B. Craig, is there a report from Agenda Evaluation Ad Hoc?
Well, we did come up with some recommendations. We haven't had a meeting. We did have some brief input from other people, but one was the committee should review anything before it goes to board and recommend any presentations before they go to board. This was being done so that, everybody was speaking, all these people were coming to the board. The committees should be vetting these people and making sure that it's pertinent to us. A lot of the times the stuff coming, most of us heard the stuff that knew the stuff that they said from the, from the Iowa thing. So, if we had vetted that in committee, they went on, and it seemed to me forever, but it was probably past their 20 minutes. The idea is to get a meeting in and out of here so that we don't put people that are watching our meetings to sleep. Limit time of public speakers to 2 to 3 minutes. Limit time of government speakers to 2 to 3 minutes. All government speakers need to give written report prior to meeting. A lot of times, the government speakers come in here, they're unprepared. They haven't written anything down, so we felt that if they gave us something, we wanted to question how to deal with multiple speakers from the same public office. Limit time of liaisons to 2 to 3 minutes. And require them to have a written report to speak. Consider moving public comment and board comments as separate items to the end of the agenda. That was put so that we wouldn't hear 20 people in the beginning and nobody at the end, and if they wanted to speak, they could wait. They could see through the meeting. What we were discussing how to deal with the council member coming to the meeting and they're not being agendized, but then we have somebody from their office, one or two people from their office, and then the council member speaking. We need to have a way of handling that. We were speaking of having a hard time at presentations. Again, presentations be reviewed in committee. Promote doing presentation in committee meetings and board and stakeholder, and having board and stakeholders going to committee meetings for presentations instead of board meetings. We felt that might give people a little bit more input. Consider using parliamentary procedure and rely on Robert's more. Use voice votes or voice votes or hand votes for procedural votes. So, when you need to do a voice vote to pass a motion, but if you made an amendment to the motion, you could do a voice vote or a hand vote because it's just procedural. A lot of things we do, we got voice votes, we go all through the room, and we spend a lot of time doing that. Another one, don't be shy about calling the question if the debate goes on too long. People think calling the question is not something to do, but if debate's going on and you've heard everybody 10 times and you know how to vote, let's call the question. Consider Robert's Rules of Order training. The other one was talking about having a timekeeper. That's it.
Thanks.
Adam, you want to do any input? Since you were there.
See one question or comment from the audience. Oh, and then Vic.
I heard a lot of good ideas in there. First question I had, I don't have a copy of the agenda. Were those notes in the packet that he just read?
No.
I didn't see it.
Okay. So, and also you're missing like 7 or 8 board members, and this is really important stuff. So I think it would be great if we could document all the ideas that he had so that we can break it down and then table this for the next meeting when the whole board could look at it. Because there are some, I agree wholeheartedly with the vote counts. It wastes a lot of time in other issues, but I really think you should wait till more people are here, but you have it documented so you could really look at each of these items.
I think so. And then I think that things like the Roberts Rules and some of that other stuff could and should be covered at retreat or something like that.
Yeah, this stuff will be addressed at retreat. And Craig, why don't you make a one sheet on all of this stuff?
I've already distributed this before. We were supposed to have this at a previous meeting.
I know. Do it again.
That's why it wasn't on.
Do it again for retreat. That way we can discuss it at retreat. Because I think Ray will be willing to slot a little bit of time for this at retreat to discuss it.
And it's something we would also want to take up at executive, obviously, when the agenda is set. Vic?
I agree there are some good ideas there, but some of them are already being done, like vetting presentations through committee. You might not realize how many people try to come to us at the executive level and to do a presentation, and we send them to a committee. So that is already being done. You may not realize how much. And as far as the USS Iowa presentation and your timekeeper recommendation, I did watch the time. And while it didn't go on forever, in my opinion, they went 22 minutes from the time they started to the time they physically left. So that's pretty good for a 20-minute time limit and only going over a couple.
That's fair enough. And, again, there will be obviously the levels of interest for any of us might vary for the presentations.
I think what we were trying to say was if we vetted it in committee, we could say, well, just speak to this. You don't need to show us this map of.
Yeah, I think this one might not be the best example since it was out of sync. But I do know at executive a lot of times the process by which somebody will bring it. It goes back and forth and they chew on it a little bit. But I do think it's worth emphasizing for all the presentations. Was there any other comment or question for the 9B? All right, it is 8:17, so we're going to try and streamline our movement through the rest.
Streamline.
Yeah, we're going to go
Budget
to
and finance, there's
9C.
nothing. Public safety, there was no quorum, so there's no report. No CPAB. Executive committee, Ray's gone.
All right, and
no bylaws.
Yeah, Ray was there. 9G, planning and land use.
They're gone.
Oh, the names are gone.
Community issues.
No,
There's
John Barbera.
nobody here.
Thomas, says there a 9I from Port and Sustainability?
Yes. Yes, even though we were dark last month, there's lots of things been brought to our attention. So we have a community interest statement we'll be working on and probably bringing before this group that has to do with. I'll get this closer. The tentative title is Asking City Hall to Study Rail Horn Noise and Establish Quiet Zones. There'll be discussion about a cruise ship RFP that's on the Board of Harbor Commissioners' agenda in November. There's a shipyard NOP released in November. Cabrillo Way Marina ground lease is coming before the Board of Harbor Commissioners. So a lot of activity this time of year for the Port Committee. Just wanted to make an announcement. The last day to submit comments on the connectivity plan is November 7th. So that's I guess what I should be saying is it's going to go to the Board of Harbor Commissioners on December 7th. For those interested in that, and there will probably be discussing, someone's brought to our attention, the businesses at Harbor and 22nd Street need to be demolished for the additional parking spot plan. So that's my report. Any questions?
None. Thank you very much. All right, and that ends committee reports. We move on to liaison reports. Angela and Anna are not here. Dan.
Forgot Vic Christensen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did. Vic, is there a...
Well, no, nothing specific, but Community Issues Committee is looking at ways to encourage LAUSD to come back. So that will fall into, the Science Center will fall into play with that.
Okay. All right, and so then moving on to item 10, liaison reports. Just broadly, does anyone who is a liaison have anything to report? Show of hands, anything besides Lori, who's already gone? Hearing none. All right. Are there any announcements or proposed future agenda items? Similar.
Yeah. Budget and finance next month. If you're interested in attending, we're going to be discussing the application process that we're going to use this year and how, if we're going to ask for more funds for the MPGs.
Okay.
At the next budget and finance meeting.
Next budget, which is?
Which is the 1st of November.
November 1st, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I may send somebody your way for that. All right, and finally, are there any general public comments on non-agenda items that have not already been dealt with? Sweet silence. All right. So without objection, I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Don't need a motion.
Okay.
All in favor, aye.
Well, if we needed one, we had it, and since we don't, we're doubly good. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. Please pick up your wrappers and see you next month. Oh, tablecloth. That's right.